All right, good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Courtney Beal. I'm the Senior Director for Global Engagement at the National Security Council with the White House. It's a pleasure to have you here today. We have some exciting announcements coming up. As you all know, the Global Entrepreneurship Summit is all about how the government can create partnerships with incredible private companies, organizations, nonprofit groups to help provide tools and resources to global entrepreneurs. And so we have some incredible partners here today to make announcements about the work that they're doing to support entrepreneurship and innovation. First, we'll start with Doug Galen, the co-founder and CEO of RippleWorks. Next, we'll move to Shahed Amanullah, the co-founder and director, and his partner Quinton Wiktorowicz, co-founder and managing partner of Affinis Labs. Then we'll have Ganesh Rasagam, the practice manager with the World Bank Group, the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Unit, as well as Tayo Akimyemi, a consultant with the World Bank Group. And last but not least, Hirad Sabeti, the co-founder of the Institute of Fourth Sector Development. And they'll all be talking about new tools and research that they're excited to be launching. So first, we'll welcome to the stage Doug. And then at the end, if there are questions from the audience, we'll have them available to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Courtney. I'm Doug Galen. I am the co-founder and CEO of RippleWorks, and we announced and launched very important research yesterday called the Human Capital Crisis. Now, what's interesting is the human capital crisis is regarding what turns out to be the one and only challenge that social entrepreneurs face that gets more extreme and harder as they scale. The research was funded by Omidyar Network with analytical support provided by McKinsey. We did the research with 628 CEOs and entrepreneurs, 47 in-depth interviews across 59 countries. So to back up for a second, what is RippleWorks? RippleWorks is a nonprofit based here in Silicon Valley. We connect extreme expertise from Silicon Valley and other tech areas with CEOs of the most promising social entrepreneurs and ventures in the world. What we do is we match the needs of the CEO with existing employees at Facebook, Airbnb, Salesforce to assist with their extreme challenges to scale. It's a 3-month project that they're involved with. The experts keep their day job and they help the CEOs overcome their challenge. So the research, 75% of the entrepreneurs that we interviewed said that there was a high or extreme challenge in growth due to human capital, the ability to scale their teams. What's interesting about this is, as we peel the onion, the challenges they face are, one, they can't compete on price, even if they're funded. The second is that it's taking 6 months to 12 months to hire the best talent. So one of the big takeaways, which this research does two things. It highlights the issues and it then discusses the takeaways. The takeaways here is, for those entrepreneurs who think it's time to hire, it's probably already too late. They have to start hiring earlier. The other big lesson was 64% of the entrepreneurs said that even though they had received funding, they still couldn't compete on the offer price, on the wages, on the salaries that they were trying to attract talent. The big takeaway here is change the game. The entrepreneurs and CEOs are not going to be able to compete on salary, so don't try. Come up with an extreme value proposition about your mission and other types of things. We outlined in the report the 3 steps required to be able to successfully do that. I'll just talk briefly about 2 more takeaways. The second was, most of us think that one of the big challenges that companies are facing is hiring engineers, and 32% of the entrepreneurs would say that. But interestingly, 70% of the entrepreneurs said that hiring salespeople, growth strategy, people who would help with customer acquisition, was by far the bigger challenge. Now, we looked at one other area that was critically important. Everything I just mentioned was long-term challenges that they need to adjust their companies over the next year or so. The second challenge is they're using mentorship and fellowships to try to fill the gap in a short-term basis. And what we learned is that For the most part, early funded companies are relatively happy with mentorship. 53% are happy and satisfied with the value of mentorship, but that plummets to 23% are satisfied with mentorship as the organizations scale and become larger. The report goes through concrete findings as to why that is and what to do about it. So in conclusion, this report highlights the issues of the human capital crisis. It provides specific recommendations for entrepreneurs, investors, and for intermediaries who are helping the entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Shahid Amanullah. I'm the co-founder of Affinis Labs, which is a social enterprise dedicated to community-driven innovation to solve a variety of business and social entrepreneurship challenges. We do this primarily through the use of hackathons, which in Silicon Valley means usually technology, but we have broadened it to mean a whole host of technology and non-technology-based solutions to problems. We've been spending the last 18 months doing this around the world, and we've had some amazing successes. We've been able to generate new businesses in Africa that have brought people together who never knew each other, who have then launched new businesses. We did one in Australia where we had communities develop their own solutions to issues of youth identity and bullying and feeling reinforced as a young person. We even did a project with Facebook and Google where we helped crowdsource talent to come up with ways to fight online hatred. So we've seen some amazing things come out of this. We've seen movements being built, not just solutions, where people even a year afterwards are still brainstorming about ways to solve the problem. But along the way, something was bothering us. You see, we believe that innovation and entrepreneurship is something that should be accessible to everybody. But what we were finding is when we were bringing these programs to communities around the world, that only a very select few people that had the connections and the education and were kind of at the top of the pyramid were taking advantage of that. Even when we look around us here today at the summit, we're seeing that group of people who are already blessed with a lot of knowledge and a lot of resources that are taking advantage of these tools. But because we believe that innovation and entrepreneurship is a human right, is something that everyone should be able to do, we decided to do something about it. So today we're launching something called Rising Margins. So what is Rising Margins? It's a series of hackathons that are specifically designed to flip the pyramid over and to address marginalized communities for whom entrepreneurship and innovation has never reached. And we never consider them to be a part of the solution to their own problems. And we want to expand the program that we already do from 3 days, a 3-day intensive session, to a 5-day session where we give them a head start on how to solve their own problems, how to come up with ways to feel empowered, and then to surround them with resources, mentors, judges, capital, whatever it takes so that they can solve their own problems. We're proud to be launching our first one of these hackathons in Jordan with our partner being the World Bank to specifically address refugee issues, because we believe that refugees populations are an underutilized asset, not a problem to be solved. And we want to take this kind of solution to other marginalized communities around the world, including, for example, Aboriginal communities in Australia and a whole other host of them. But this is a very large problem, and we cannot address it by ourselves. So if you have particular visibility into a marginalized community that's been overlooked by innovation and entrepreneurship, please approach us and let us know about it. If you have expertise in helping to work with communities that are really on the margins, that help bring them out of that and help them feel like they can solve their own problems, employ themselves, and get up on their own feet, we want to hear from you. And if you're a generous sponsor that can take our work and accelerate it and amplify it to the next level, we really do want to hear from you, because we want to make sure that this reaches every corner of the world. So again, Rising Margins is our humble effort to try to take entrepreneurship and innovation and make it something that everybody feels that they're born with a right to do, not just for the elites. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ganesh Rasagam from the World Bank.
My name is Tayo Akinyemi, also from the World Bank.
So we're here to announce the launching of our new Pan-African Accelerator program for digital entrepreneurs. So in the World Bank, we have been supporting entrepreneurs, hundreds of entrepreneurs in Africa, in 3 thematic areas: in climate technology, in digital entrepreneurship, and in agribusiness. So we have a network of mobile labs that we have set up in different parts of Africa, and the 3 of the mobile labs will be the ones that will be using as the hubs to launch the new accelerators. These will be in Kenya, in South Africa, and in Senegal. I ask my colleague Tayo to provide details of the accelerator program.
Great. So the purpose of the accelerator program is to execute a demonstration effect, essentially, to show that African startups are scalable, profitable, and investable, essentially. So the accelerator program will be officially launched later this year. It will hold on the ground in Cape Town for a week or 2, and then there will be virtual support both before and afterward. We're looking for the rising stars of African startups, and the cohort will have 20 startups as a part of it. And there probably will be an open call to invite startups apart from those that are going to be sourced through the M Labs probably in the fall of this year.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Hirat Sabeti with the Institute for Fourth Sector Development with a couple of co-founders here and one of our partners from IBM. So over the last 2 decades, we've seen many for-profit companies broadening their purpose, to pursue social and environmental aims, while many nonprofit and governmental organizations have been adopting market-based approaches to advance their purposes. At the same time, a rapidly growing movement of socially minded entrepreneurs around the world have been creating for-benefit enterprises that leverage the power of business to solve social, environmental, and economic challenges. These pioneering for-benefits are challenging the traditional boundaries that separate the private, public, and social sectors, and they're giving rise to a new fourth sector of the economy. Every year, there's tens of millions of for-benefit entrepreneurs around the world starting up new enterprises to tackle a wide range of social, environmental, and economic challenges. But only thousands of these enterprises are actually receiving the support that they need. Responding to this challenge, a group of leaders from philanthropy, business, government, and academia are partnering to launch the Institute for Fourth Sector Development. We're taking the opportunity of the Global Entrepreneurship Summit to announce our commitment to launch this first-of-its-kind platform for accelerating for-benefit entrepreneurship worldwide. The Institute will work with a host of partners to conduct a global census of for-benefit enterprises and their supportive ecosystems. We'll create open-source tools for sophisticated analysis and visualization of data on for-benefits. We'll develop a comprehensive policy framework for recognizing and supporting for-benefit enterprises at the national, regional, and municipal levels. We'll support on-the-ground economic development initiatives that accelerate the growth of for-benefit enterprises. And we'll drive investment towards for-benefit businesses and their supportive ecosystems. We're announcing today collaboration with Stanford University's Global Projects Center to develop a $25 million pooled grant and private investment fund to fuel the development of supportive ecosystems for for-benefit organizations globally. And over the next 3 years, we'll be focused on rapid deployment of support to efforts that have strategic significance to the expansion of the fourth sector as a whole. For-benefit enterprises already represent more than 10% of the economy in the US and many countries around the world. And they're creating jobs almost twice as fast as for-profit businesses are in the US and in Europe. They are poised to multiply rapidly in number and size in the coming years because there are millions of socially motivated entrepreneurs, billions of socially conscious consumers, and trillions of dollars of social finance around the world ready to be unleashed. Working with a host of key initial partnerships, including IBM, the Urban Institute, and the UN, the Institute, which will be based in Silicon Valley and Washington, D.C., will provide research, policy support, capital, connection, technical assistance, and a neutral platform for collaboration to catalyze the rapid growth of for-benefit entrepreneurship to tackle the urgent challenges of the 21st century. We invite allied organizations to join us in this effort in the coming months and years. Thanks.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for those exciting announcements. Now, if there are any questions from press or the audience, we'd be happy to ask our speakers to take them for you. There's a microphone that'll be coming around.
Hi, thank you.
And if you could state your name and your outlet as
I'm
well.
Maria, and I'm representing the Women Network, Women Entrepreneur Network of Latin America. And I have a social business in Brazil too. So this support you are planning to provide, how this is gonna reach us? Like, how can we work together, like, to have these informations and this support? So that's my question. So
Does anyone want to take that one?
Yeah, do you want to come up here?
No, she'll give you the
Oh,
mic.
perfect. Okay, thanks. So we're going to be working, we're a catalyst platform. So to reach, basically, this class of entrepreneurship and enterprise has to grow to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals to somewhere on the order of $2 to $3 trillion a year, this year, every year, over the next 15 years. So this sector of the economy has to scale very rapidly all over the world. There's no way one platform or organization can possibly have that kind of reach. So what we're trying to create is a neutral platform for collaboration. So getting down to local communities. So we've been in discussions, for example, with CARE and CARE Enterprises that has a footprint in 40 different countries. So we're working with networks of accelerators and incubators that have basically on-the-ground initiatives and operations to infuse them with know-how and support that can wrap around the for-benefit enterprises in those regions.
Does anyone else over here want to? No? Okay. Yes.
Hi, my question is actually to the entire, all the panelists. Is the focus, what's your focus on partnership? Clearly looks like there's a lot of the partnership model because you're collaborating with government, individuals, and private sector. So how do you see that evolving and the role of accelerating technologies and how much you're going to leverage those in the context of building this almost like a worldwide neural network that can really help base the pyramid in a way in some cases?
I mean, I think a lot of these challenges almost require, my colleague Shaya talked about movement building. Like when we go in and run a hackathon, we don't just run it as an event, we're running this as a mobilization campaign to get as many stakeholders, partners, mentors, individuals, donors, et cetera, involved in it, because without that, you're not gonna have sustainability when the programs go in at the local level. And I think one of the key elements that partnerships in particular bring is that ability to connect the international down to the very, very local grassroots level to reach, communities like women entrepreneurs, for example, in Latin America.
At Ripple Works, we are only focused on innovative companies that are scaling. So they could be for-profit or not-for-profit, but almost by definition, if they're innovative and scaling, they're utilizing technology. So that's all we're focused on.
So that's a great question, by the way. I think so. We have different types of partnership for the entrepreneurship program. So firstly, we are partnering with investors, venture capital funds, angel investors who potentially could invest in some of these enterprises coming out of this program. So that would be one kind of partnership. We have technical partners, like some of my colleagues sitting here, who will provide mentoring services, training, coaching to the pool of entrepreneurs who will go through this program. And then we have partnerships in kind from organizations which we hope to develop, which we haven't developed as yet, with perhaps people like Microsoft or Google, who can provide technical expertise in kind for the program.
Hi, I'm Heather Grady with Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. I have a question maybe in the first instance for the World Bank, but really for all of you. It seems to me that listening to the commonalities across what you're doing, it's very important to make sure that government policies and legislation is facilitating what you're trying to do. I'm thinking about legal frameworks around maybe philanthropy and investing, and if there are any fiscal breaks there, around communications policies, around the Ministry of Finance and how they look at the establishment of businesses, ministries of commerce, and so on. So I'm wondering to what extent any of you are linking with governments and countries to maybe influence policies in the way that we heard this morning from President Obama. Thank you.
That's clearly a question for me, thank you. So Another great question. I think the issues you have highlighted are really key for the ecosystem for entrepreneurship. And the sort of bread and butter work of what we do in terms of policy dialogue with the government is focused on improving the business environment for the private sector, for entrepreneurs. So it's about making it easier to start firms and to overcome entry barriers for firms, cost, time, just the bureaucratic burden of starting a business, and also exit, to get out of, to close a firm and to move on to your next venture, because we all believe entrepreneurs should be allowed to fail rather painlessly. So to facilitate that. So it's one part of what we do. There's an ongoing program that we work across many countries. Secondly is on the tax policies, tax environments, making it easier for businesses to understand first the tax code and figure out how to navigate the tax code, the simplification of the code and the process of paying taxes. And again, a tax regime that is enabling private investment rather than being a burden. The third area is in labor markets, labor market policies that allow for talent flow, especially foreign talent, to be able to come and support ventures. And finally, educational policies as well, to create a pool of young entrepreneurs who are sufficiently educated and with access to skills. So yes, we work in all those areas. So the program that that I described is just one part of what we do directly with the entrepreneurs through incubators and accelerators, but the policy agenda is with the government. Sorry, it's a very long answer.
So we do two things when we do our hackathon. So one is just visibility. So we try to invite people from all forms of government, all layers of government, to actually be a part of the pitch sessions and watch. So we just did a hackathon in Indonesia where we had representatives from the president's office and whatnot, because we want them to see that struggle up close and internalize that and take that back to their colleagues to try to see if they can make things easier for them. And the second thing is that we just always defer a lot to local partners. So when we do, for example, entrepreneurship in Africa, we partner with local incubators that are already familiar with the landscape and the pitfalls and things that need to happen. And we step back and we say, how can we as an outside entity help you do your job better?
I think that's a really critical question. So most governments, basically, after you get past security and defense, their highest priority is growing the economy. And basically what government ends up doing is creating the ecosystem, the conditions that give rise to an ecosystem for private sector actors and entrepreneurs to be able to engage in a variety of different sort of businesses and capital markets to function and standards and all of that to work. So government has a really important role to play in regular entrepreneurship and growing the economy. So, but as the economy starts to shift, from profit towards purpose across the world, and entrepreneurs who are basically driven by primarily a benefit that they're trying to create in the world, and profit is a means to that end, find themselves in this sort of no man's land between a policy architecture that supports charity, is built around the institution of nonprofits and charity, and one that's built around the institutions that support for-profit business. So for us, that middle space, which is where all these for-benefit entrepreneurs are functioning, is really, really critical from a policy standpoint to get policymakers to both recognize it and figure out how to create the right enabling environment and the right policy infrastructure to do that. One of the initiatives we're launching is the Four-Sector Policy Initiative. It's being chaired by a former staff director of the Senate Finance Committee in the US, and its focus basically is coming up with a comprehensive policy architecture for a fourth sector. So there's if you think about the policy structure that enables the second sector, traditional business, there's not an agency at the national, sort of state or municipal level that doesn't play some important role in that operating envelope. So the same has to be true for entrepreneurs that are pursuing purpose as their primary motivation. We need a very comprehensive policy architecture, so that's a really important focus.
Are there any other questions?
Do all of you engage with the investor community, both the for-profit venture capital firms, private equity, as well as family-owned offices, along with the social impact organizations? And how actively you do that if you do that?
At RippleWorks, what we do is we work with CEOs of social ventures that are either venture-backed or institutionally backed. So if they're venture-backed, almost all of our organizations that we work with come to us via a referral. So that means that we work extensively with venture capitalists, family offices a little bit, and institutional money a fair amount for the few nonprofits that are innovative and scaling.
So we invite members of the local venture capital community to each of our hackathons. As a matter of fact, even in one recent one that we did, a VC from the audience just went ahead and funded one of the people. It wasn't even the winner, by the way. It was just an idea that they thought was really going to be helpful. But just putting them in that environment and exposing them to this, they walked in expecting to just be entertained for a night, and they walked out with an investment.
Yes, in the back.
Hi, my name's Rory Faber. I'm a mentor for a group called Defy Ventures. And it seems that this venture group could definitely do with your help because it addresses the problems of people who've been incarcerated but have a very good entrepreneurial streak, as you can imagine. And they do need the support of a hackathon-type environment and an ability to be able to scale up their ideas. So I just invite you to increase your thought towards that group. America's greatest underused resource of entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Any last questions? No? Well, thank you all for coming and being here with us and helping us get the word out about these exciting announcements. And we'll just end with a round of applause for all of our speakers today.